So what do you guys make of that? The idea that Mike Tomlin might have been a draw or might be a draw for Brandon Ayuk out in Pittsburgh. And perhaps, like, we're getting two different sides of this. We just played Phil Perry, who said the Patriots have, and I'm paraphrasing here, a god-awful reputation among veterans around the league for just being a grinded out, miserable place. And then you're hearing from Chris Gasper, hey, if Belichick was here, he might have still been a draw compared to Tomlin, and maybe Tomlin is a reason why Brandon Ayuk is going out there, because nobody knows who Jerod Mayo is in terms of being a coach.
May I just offer one thing, Andy, and then I imagine you will be able to...
bloviate?
Yes. Go off at length, loquaciously.
Okay.
I don't think if you're an offensive player, especially the way things went in the post-Tom Brady era, that Bill Belichick would have been much of a draw. However, if you were a defensive player, if this were a Matthew Judon type, we'll say, I think he definitely would have been an attraction. But as far as offensive players go, hell no.
So I never really have my finger on the pulse of who's a draw, because I go back to Jabril Peppers, who seemed to really like Joe Judge and wanted to come here because Joe Judge was coming here from the Giants. So Joe Judge was despised by a lot of people, but, you know, those personal relationships, I don't know how for an offensive player you wouldn't feel better now than when Bill was here. Like, that was a debacle for a couple years. The whole Matt Patricia to then even Bill O'Brien era was just bad. So the draw idea of Bill Belichick was dead to me, totally dead to me, other than maybe a defensive player. But even that, I feel like, had lost its luster a little bit. And if anything, you'd be looking at Jerod Mayo and the new coaching staff as an opportunity. You know, their player empowerment. One of the things that got Gresh all hot and bothered all this offseason was player empowerment, right? Well, that'd be a nice place to play.
Really turning into a Gresh-focused show.
Well, you know, he has entered the chat, so to speak, over the last 24 hours.
He's made the New York Post headlines.
But, I mean, you know, Jerod Mayo is a young black coach. You have a young young-ish offensive coordinator. I wouldn't say young, but a new offensive coordinator.
He's green.
Green, yeah. And not old. He's 50-something.
Yeah, I mean, I just turned half century. So.
Yeah, he's not old.
I get AARP, though.
Really? So your movies are cheaper now? Flash.
If anyone needs 5% off a car rental, hit me up.
So I just think it's more like they don't have a quarterback and they're a bad team. Like, I don't really think we need to overthink it and go beyond that. They don't have a quarterback. If I'm the receiver, literally there's a good chance I go in knowing at least two people are throwing me passes this year, right? And I think that's a downside if I'm a receiver.
But isn't that kind of the same situation that the Steelers are in? Russell Wilson is not great right now, and Justin Fields is not a proven thing either.
Right, but I feel like Russell Wilson is at least Russell Wilson.
Right.
You know, I don't know how Ayuk fits that, but if you want to, you could sell yourself on Russell Wilson was a franchise quarterback. Russell Wilson's a Hall of Famer.
Keyword was.
What? But again,
had a nice start to 20. He had a nice first half of last year. Let's not bear it like.
Yeah, sneaky good.
Yes,
I like to use that word, sneaky good.
One of our favorite operative phrases there in the old six. Sneaky good.
And I don't think it's hard because I do this all the time. We all do this. You think of a player that you watched play against the Celtics, let's just say, and you saw him twice.
Why did we go to Celtics?
Because that's your lane.
Oh, okay.
I apologize. We have to say crossing sports.
I watch football.
Apologies.
But maybe you watch.
I was on a football team.
Some guy
slammed.
What did you yell earlier, like women in sports or something? I was listening
as a woman in sports.
You kind of made me laugh a little bit there.
I know.
But no, like you may watch the Celtics play some team twice in the course of an NBA season, and a player on that team in your mind, because of those two performances, is a certain thing, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas fans of that team are
Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin.
Yeah, and like fans of that team may be like, no, I watched him 82 times. He is not what you think he is.
Dean Wade going off for 20 in the fourth against the Celtics.
Whatever, whoever it is. Like you.
D-Wade? No, Dean Wade.
No,
Dean Wade.
Dean Wade. So he may have this perception of Mayo or New England or Russell Wilson that is just unfair. Now, give him credit, right? It's not just the money, right?
Can I be honest? Is there a perception of Mayo out there?
I
don't think that there is.
Well,
like the perception is like, hope he does well. He's a young coach who is defensively minded.
Well, I think a lot of players would say he's a young black coach who used to play.
Yeah,
he's my guy, like a good thing.
Which is a
he's
good
one
thing.
Of us.
But I don't think anybody has a conception of like he's the next big thing, or
No.
he's Bill Jr., or he's like, I think he's just mostly an unknown is what I'm saying.
No, but I'm saying from a player's perspective, I think it would be very superficial. He's a young black coach who used to play. He's one of us. He's part of our group. He knows what it's like to put the pads on, to hate the coach, to hate the owner. I think that would be probably as far as it goes for most players. I mean, if you talk to a lot of like the Fouriers of the world, or a lot of NFL players kind of just coast.
Okay,
They don't overthink
I think
things.
Fourier picked most of his destinations. When you hear him talk about it, he's like, what's the weather there?
Yeah, no.
And then he ended up in New England. So,
And I think a lot of you talk to ex-NFL players, a lot of guys just kind of coast or get by or go with the flow.